who we're about to read about. Cousin, uncle, okay? Older cousin who raised her as his own, all right? And something's about to happen that is going to come into play. So we've got several things already taking place. Remember that ultimately what happens is that God's people, the Jewish people, those in captivity, are spared extermination. I mean, ultimately that's what happens. But there were several steps that had to lead up to that. Number one, Esther had to be in the position that she was in. Okay? And then number two, another thing that has to happen is Mordecai has to hear what's going on at this point. So let's go ahead and read this. Somebody read 19 through 23 for us.
When virgins were gathered together a second time, Mordecai sat within the king's gate. Now Esther had not revealed her family and her people, just as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther obeyed the command of Mordecai as when she was brought up by him. In those days, while Mordecai sat within the king's gate, two of the king's eunuchs, Bigthan and Teresh, doorkeepers, became curious and sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. So the matter became known to Mordecai, who told Queen Esther, and Esther informed the king in Mordecai's name. And when an inquiry was made into the matter, it was confirmed, and both were hanged on gallows, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles in the presence of the king.
Okay, so interesting things. I'm telling you, already the stage has been set. The wheels are turning. Incredible things are happening, and yet at the same time we see not one single mention of God. Not one single mention of God, and yet He is all over this thing. Inside and out. God is there working. All right, so we have Esther in a particular position. Now we have Mordecai. Says that he sat within the king's gate, verse 19. And then we have it again in verse 21. He sat within the king's gate. Does that indicate anything regarding Mordecai?
He's in a good favor.
He's in a good favor. He's in some sort of official type position, right? Okay, he's some sort of official. Yeah, yeah, that's right. So this again has everything's in place, right? Okay, so he overhears this this conspiracy to murder the king, and then not only does he hear it, and he gets word to Esther, who gets the problem taken care of. That matter is recorded, right? Recorded in the Chronicles, and that's not 1st and 2nd Chronicles that we read, but what are the Chronicles of the King? Yeah. Somebody's just keeping the books, right? Somebody's writing down. These people are writing down what all takes place. We'll see that come into play in a little while. All right. So now chapter 3. Any comments regarding that last section? Okay. All right, now chapter 3. Esther chapter 3. Somebody start reading at verse 1. Okay. Will somebody please start reading at verse 1?
After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes who were with him.
Okay, stop. You got real far. Okay. Here we have, in walks the protagonist, the antagonist rather, and it is Haman, right? Last week, Brother Jack had mentioned that he is the descendant of a particular king. Anybody know who? I mean, it's right there. Agag. Yep, the Amalekites. Here is a descendant of Agag. Now, what was the order that God gave Saul? Utterly destroy them. And what did Saul do? Yep. And the whole time bragged about how he had obeyed God, right? Now, I want you to think about that. while we are looking at a book wherein God's providence and power are displayed, and what can happen when people obey, we also have this remnant of an idea of what can happen when people don't obey. The order was what? Kill them all. Well, apparently somebody got away. Somebody got away. If he is an Agite, if he is a descendant of Agag, then somebody got away. All right, so now God's people are going to have to deal with the consequences of somebody else's disobedience a few generations back. Their disobedience. So,
Agag, one of their descendants killed Saul.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. So, anyway, interesting turn of events. So this is this individual, Haman. And so we find that he was advanced and was seated above all the princes who were with him. All right, keep going.
And all the king's servants who were within the king's gate bowed and paid homage to Haman, for so the king had commanded concerning him. But Mordecai would not bow or pay homage.
All right, stop again. Okay, so this is about to lead to the main problem at hand, the extermination of the Jews. It all starts right here. So in a sense, we might ask the question, well, ultimately, God has to take care of this problem by means of Mordecai and Esther, but it all started because Mordecai just wouldn't bow. I mean, if he'd have just bowed, then none of this would have happened. Really? Why didn't he bow? He was a Jew. Mordecai he's an Israelite. He's Abraham's descendant. And here is Haman, a Gentile, someone that wants reverence and honor and perhaps even the sense of worship bestowed upon himself. He's not going to bow. He won't do it. He won't do it. Is he right or is he wrong?
From his standpoint, he's right.
Yeah.
From God's standpoint, he's right.
Okay. It seems to indicate that he does the right thing. He seems to be an honorable man, but honorable men sometimes fail, right? Sometimes do the wrong thing, but it seems that there was a legitimate reason for him not to bow. Okay, so either way, he didn't do it. Okay, keep going. Verse 3.
Then the king's servants who were within the king's gate said to Mordecai, "Why do you transgress the king's command?" Now it happened when they spoke to him daily, and he would not listen to him, that they told it to Haman, to see whether Mordecai's words would stand. For Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew.
There you go.
When Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow or pay him homage, Haman was filled with wrath. But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had told him of the people of Mordecai. Instead, Haman sought to destroy all the Jews who were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, the people of Mordecai.
Okay, stop. This speaks volumes about the character of this guy, right? First of all, he's filled with wrath when he finds out that this Jew did not bow down before him and pay homage to him. That tells you something about the guy's pride. And then just the extent of his wickedness, it's not enough even for him to just one-on-one, take care of it. If even worst case scenario, he wants to kill Mordecai for this, what does he do? That's not enough for him, is it? That's how insidious and prideful this guy is. I'm going to kill all of your people because you didn't bow down to me. I mean, he's a swell guy, isn't he? He's a real swell guy. Okay, keep going.
In the first month, which is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman to determine the day and the month until it fell on the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. Then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, "There is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from all other peoples, and they do not keep the king's laws. Therefore, it is not fitting for the king to let them remain."
Okay, stop for just a minute. I do want to say that there's an implication here. When Haman says this to the king, maybe the king knew all about the Jews. But it might also be the case that because of the amount of people, the amount of nations that this was done to, that is, captivity, bringing them in and dispersing them throughout the kingdom that the Babylonian kingdom did, to these other nations, it might say something about just the tremendous volume of these nations. And now he's pointing out, but among these nations, there's one, they go against your customs and your laws. So he's focusing on them. All right, keep going. Anybody?
If it pleases the king, let a decree be written that they be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who do the work, to bring it into the king's treasuries. So the king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. And the king said to Haman, "The money and the people are given to you, to do with them as seems good to you."
Okay, so it sounded reasonable. I mean, he had exalted this man for a reason, right? I mean, the king obviously trusts him for whatever reason. So he comes to him, he brings this information, has a plan. Okay, fine, take care of it. Doesn't look like he investigates too much, right? All right, keep going.
Then the king's scribes were called on the 13th day of the first month, and the decree was written according to all that Haman commanded. To the king's satraps, to the governors who were over each province, to the officials of all people, to every province according to its script, and to every people in their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus, it was written and sealed with the king's signet ring.
All right, so we have it done with authority, sealed with the king's ring, and we have it done with, I guess, a tremendous widespread type media campaign, we might call it. They want everybody to know what's going to happen. This tells us something about the extent of the danger that these people are in, right? I mean, now they're targeted by everybody. They know who they are, and they know what's coming. Okay.
A copy of the document was to be issued as a law in every province, being published for all people, that they should be ready for that day. The couriers went out, hastened by the king's command, and the decree was proclaimed in Shushan, the citadel. So the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was perplexed. When Mordecai learned all that had happened, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the midst of the city.
Wait a minute, where are you?
I'm in verse 9. Did I skip a chapter? Chapter 4, verse 1.
You rushing me? Hold on.
Huh?
Did you get... I may have missed it.
I got the signet ring and the letter sent.
Letter sent.
Copy was to be issued.
Okay. And then the couriers. Okay, then I missed 1 point. I missed it. I must have dozed off. I'm sorry. I was looking at verse 13. I just got caught up in that. Notice what he says. And the letters were sent by the couriers into all the provinces to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate. You remember the Raid commercial? Kills, bugs, dead. Couldn't it just say it kills bugs? Kills, bugs, dead. Annihilate or destroy, kill, and annihilate. That's pretty thorough, isn't it? I think he's got a bone to pick with these people. All the Jews, young and old, little children and women, in one day. And it's going to be a slaughter. It's going to be a bloodbath. And it says to plunder their possessions. What does that mean? Take them. So they're...
Take their property. This guy's a bad dude. Look in verse 9. He actually bribes the king with 10,000 pounds of silver.
Yeah.
And he's bribing him because he knows he's going to confiscate the Jews' property.
Yeah. He's
an evil dude.
he's going to come out ahead in a number of ways, financially being one of them.
You forgot Mordecai saved his life, too.
Yeah.
The king did.
Yeah, the king did. Yeah.
Later on, that'll be.
Yep, that's going to be brought back up. Just in time. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, this guy is, again, he's insidious. He is wicked. All right, and so the people, but the city of Shushan was perplexed. All right, chapter 4, you already started it? I'm sorry. Keep going.
When Mordecai learned all that had happened, he tore his clothes, fell on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the midst of the city. He cried out with a loud and bitter cry. He went as far as the front of the king's gate, for no one might enter the king's gate clothed with sackcloth.
All right, so this is a very public display, right? And the tearing of the clothes and the sackcloth and the ashes, what is that? Mourning, yeah. A sign of mourning and grief. Yeah, I mean, this is bad. This is real. I mean, obviously it's bad, but he's letting it be known. Okay, keep going.
And in every province where the king's command and decree arrived, there was great mourning among the Jews with fasting, weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her, and the queen was deeply distressed. Then she sent garments to clothe Mordecai and take his sackcloth away from him, but he would not accept them. Then Esther called Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs, whom he had appointed to tend her, and she gave him a command concerning Mordecai to learn what and why this was.
Okay, so up to this point, I mean, she's got no idea what's going on, right? She's only gotten news that her uncle's acting a little crazy out there. I've got to figure out what's going on. You got to stop him. You've got to stop him. All right? And also bear in mind that still, and it's already emphasized this, but the king still doesn't know that she's a Jew, right? Still doesn't know that.
He knows she's good looking.
He knows that. That's right. Okay, keep going.
So Hathach went out to Mordecai in the city square that was in front of the king's gate. And Mordecai told him all that had happened to him and the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay into the king's treasures to destroy the Jews. He also gave him a copy of the written decree for their destruction, which was given at Shushan, that he might show it to Esther and explain it to her, and that he might command her to go into the king to make supplication to him and plead before him for her people. So Hathach returned and told Esther the words of Mordecai.
Okay, something that has dawned on me with some of this. We obviously have archaeological evidence regarding cuneiform writings, and we have the cylinder of Cyrus and those kinds of things. But all of this indicates that these were sophisticated people, right? I mean, you have couriers sending out letters detailing what is to take place. And you even have Mordecai who's gotten his hands on a copy of this letter to be able to inform others. I mean, how many copies would have been made?
A lot of scribes.
It's a lot of scribes, yeah. So just the sophistication. Sometimes we think about, these people just didn't really have it together. They're ancient. They're sophisticated. All right. Keep going.
I forget where I am.
Oh, somewhere in chapter 4.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Verse 10.
Then Esther spoke to Hathach and gave him a command for Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that any man or woman who goes into the inner courts of the king who has not been called, he has but one law: put all to death except the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter, that he may live. Yet I myself have not been called to go into the king these 30 days. So they told Mordecai Esther's words.
Okay, stop. What is she saying?
She's saying, I'm afraid.
I'm afraid, yeah. If I go in, there's a good chance I'm toast. There's a good chance I'll be killed. So, you think she's a little bit nervous? I think the fact that she's telling him this shows that she's a little bit nervous. Probably in her mind, listen, there's got to be another way to get word to the king. Why do I have to be the one? Well, why wouldn't you be the one? All right, so what is Mordecai's response to that? Verse 13 and following.
And Mordecai told them to answer Esther, do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews.
Oh, stop for a minute. I'm sorry. Isn't that pretty intense? So she's afraid of dying if she goes before the king and he's just not in a good enough mood to, hold out the scepter. And then his response is, no matter what, you're going to die. Unless this thing's taken care of, that's it. So now he's just making sure that she understands the options, right? You're not immune to this. That tells you also something about the law of the Medes and the Persians, that it does not change, right? It's not to be altered and it does not change. Not to be altered and it does not change. So he's saying you're going to pay a price. All right, keep going. 14.
For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this.
Wow, this is most people agree the key passage of the book, and it's packed with all kinds of great stuff. All right, so number one, if you remain completely silent at this time, so he's saying you have that option. You can keep your mouth shut. You can do that, but she needs to know that relief and deliverance will arise from the Jews from another place. Just even that alone, what does this say about Mordecai? Yeah, why would he make that comment? How does he know that relief and deliverance will take place? How does he know that?
He believes in the promise made Abraham.
Yeah.
The promises of God.
Yeah.
And he's saying it, it's kind of applies to us too, but he's saying it. If I don't do what God wants done, he'll use other means, likely to my detriment. That probably is today too. Is it not true?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you probably ought to do what God wants to do.
Yep.
It's probably best for you.
I mean, what are our options? And you move to the New Testament and you have the apostles that finally, after the resurrection of Jesus, it all becomes clear to them, right? Listen, we ought to obey God rather than men. If it seems good to you, you do whatever you have to do, but we cannot but speak the things that we've seen and heard. I mean, the other option, remain silent and come under the judgment of God, or speak out and come under the judgment of men. Jesus says, fear not them that have the ability to kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can kill both, or destroy both body and soul in hell. So, our options are limited, I mean, when it comes to these things. But going back to this idea of the promises of God, Mordecai, he's not flinching at all regarding this. Relief and deliverance will come. And that's not an assumption on his part. That is absolutely based on the fact that God made a promise, and he's going to fulfill his promise. That God's work with the people of Israel, he says, it's not done. The Messiah still has to come. God's not through. So, therefore, relief and deliverance will come. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I think a key thing to remember, and you probably brought it up, is that in these books, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther, they're in reverse chronological chronological order. That Esther took place first, and then Nehemiah, and then Ezra. So, and you also remember that Cyrus is the one who issued the edict to free the Jews.
They're going to go back.
So
Some have already gone back. Yeah.
So at this point in time, those Jews that were in Persia were actually free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah.
And so I think what Mordecai is saying here, relief will come from another place. He may be referring back to Nehemiah, who rebuilt the wall, and Ezra, who rebuilt the temple. That's going to happen anyway.
Yeah. So just around the corner, we know that things are going to happen just by the promises of God.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, God still will bring the prophet that's going to be like Moses, and numerous other prophecies that have already been made regarding the Messiah. It's going to happen. And so since that's going to happen, I don't have much to worry about. These folks that are, and I agree that we need to be good stewards of the earth. Okay? So don't write me off too badly. But the fact is, individuals that say, listen, we need to take care of the environment because we only have about 5 million years left or whatever. Listen, God's going to destroy everything. This world will last as long as God wants it to last, and then He's going to, I have no doubt about it. I have no doubt about it. Now, again, we can be bad stewards and just have to live miserably for however long, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not really concerned. Not really concerned with things of this temporal place. Why? Because God has made it very clear this world is not our home. We are strangers and foreigners here. There's something much greater beyond here. So I think that we should be able to talk just like Mordecai. And speak just like him. I'm not really concerned because I serve a God that's going to fulfill His promises. So relief and deliverance will come, he says. All right? But then there is this idea of a penalty against her. But you and your father's house will perish. You will not be guiltless if you, because of fear and intimidation, refuse to do what you're supposed to do. You and your father's house will come under condemnation. Think that you'll be guiltless. Yet, I love this though, and again, the main point of the book, yet, who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? I mean, us looking back, as looking at this as history rather than, providence looking forward, we can say that's exactly why she came to the kingdom. That is precisely why she was where she was. For this specific time and reason. But don't you see, Mordecai is just saying, who knows? Who knows? I think that we need to consider the fact that we are, I think that we absolutely are what I'm going to say that we are, but maybe even to a greater extent sometimes than we will know, at least this side of eternity. We may just be a small piece of a much larger puzzle. I read an article, I think that we reprinted it in our bulletin a couple of years ago, and I think that it was about Gus Nichols. Brother Nichols was a gospel preacher. Numerous congregations started as a result of his efforts in the Jasper, Alabama area. Hundreds of congregations probably around that area exist. Numerous men trained to preach. And maybe upwards of 1,000 or more baptisms as a result of his preaching directly. But if you go backwards in time, the reason that he was a Christian is because there was a young woman that went to a gospel meeting and ultimately obeyed the gospel, was the only response in that gospel meeting. That may have been Brother Nichols' grandmother or something like that. I can't remember the exact. And maybe it's the case that she didn't do anything great or significant as far as winning souls, personally winning souls to Christ, but what happened? As a result of her obeying the gospel, how many souls will be in heaven when life here is over because of her obedience? So we might just be one small piece of the puzzle. Who knows what kind of influence we might have just over one person that might have an influence over thousands of other people. We don't know. We don't know. But we have to be willing to be used by God and do what He requires. Going back to what Brother Jack mentioned. Just do what He requires. Whether we think that we are successful in whatever we're doing, just do it. Whether we can see the results immediately or not, just do it. Just obey. Never know. And so here we are in verse 14. Who knows whether you are come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Might be the very reason you're in the position that you are in. I want you to think about that on a practical kind of level. Some of you I know are beyond working years, but somebody that gets fired from their job, what a tragedy, right? Turns out that you might have to go to work for another place where you meet one person that will influence thousands of people. So that tragedy turns into what? Some sort of a victory. Yeah. We experience all kinds of bad things in this life, and sometimes those bad things lead to great things. We just need to be able to back up for a minute and say, wait a minute. It's not about me. Not about me. I'm just a little piece of the puzzle. It's about something much larger than myself.
Do what God wants you to do. When I say a great thing, do what God wants. I believe
Yep.
that's absolutely the truth. Do what God wants you to do. How do I find out? Read your Bible.
Yep.
Look around you. That's how. Do what God wants you to do. What
Yep.
you said about that lady that was responsible some way with Gus Milton.
Yeah.
Somehow she did what God wanted her to do.
Yep.
We don't even know her name.
Yeah. Isn't that something? I know Gus Nichols' name, but can't remember hers at all.
Must have been related to Gus Nichols.
Somehow. Yeah.
So we're not going to all be famous or whatever in the kingdom.
That's right.
Do what God wants you to do, where you are.
That's right. All right. So let's go ahead and finish out the chapter. Folks really gathering in the foyer? Are these people that didn't go to Bible class out there? Or are these people coming from Bible class?
We got about 10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes? Really? We got 10 minutes?
No,
You know?
no.
Well, 15.
Can I get 20? All right, number 15. Verse 15 to 17. Somebody read those.
And Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, "Go, gather all the Jews who are present in Shushan, and fast for me, neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise, and so I will go to the king, which is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther commanded him.
That's powerful, isn't it? She's resolved. His message to her was convicting. Because it was the truth. It was convicting. And all she asks is prayer and fasting. Pray that this will be okay, but if I perish, I perish. You know, when a person reaches that kind of resolve, there's no threat that can come against them that will influence them in a bad way, right? In a negative way. I'm just going to do what needs to be done. And if I die in the process, so be it. I mean, you think about the conviction and the resolve of the Apostle Paul in Philippians. For to me to live is Christ. Everything about my life centers on Him. He is my all in all. For to me to live is Christ, and to die is what? To die is gain. How do you hurt somebody like that? I mean, I think that we've mentioned this before, but you think about that. Here's the Apostle Paul. He obeys the gospel, becomes a Christian. they want him to stop preaching. He won't. So they arrest him. What does he do while he's in jail? Yeah, he sings, he prays. He ultimately, when he's in Rome for the first time, he writes letters. He converts the guards. I mean, well, threatening him didn't work. Arresting him didn't work. And now he says, for to me to live is Christ and to die is gain. Guess what? Killing him won't work. You can't fight against that. You can't. I'm convinced that's why the gospel spread so powerfully early on. One of those, was it Justin Martyr? One of them said that the seed of the kingdom is the blood of Christians, the blood of the saints. The more you kill them, the more they multiply. They had nothing to lose, everything to gain. If I perish, I perish. It's resolve. And just a quick, again, just a practical self-evaluation kind of question or survey. If I were threatened with the loss of all of my goods, all of my possessions, because of my faith, how would I respond? If I were threatened with my life, how would I respond? I think that the answer to that, and I know that that's just a supposition and a what if, and we never know until we're faced with it, but actually I would argue that the way that we live in the present probably already answers that question. If it's all about my stuff, I will be destroyed. Mentally, emotionally. But if it's all about eternal things that do not perish, who cares? Might not be convenient, but so be it. Something far more important than the temporal stuff of this life. Just obey God. Okay. We'll go ahead and stop there. We'll start chapter 5 next week, Lord willing. You're dismissed.